Good morning, good morning, good morning. Elizabeth Elenor with Pause. And today we're going to be talking about walking with the invisible. It's public holiday here, and I've got my daughter down for the weekend, and we've been staying up late and watching movies to cry to, and so I got on here a little bit late because hanging out with my daughter means lots of late nights and early mornings, and so I'm not quite 100% this morning. But today I wanted to talk about walking with the invisible, because there's so many things that people don't realize that they are connecting with when it comes to living in the invisible realms, right? Sometimes we think that we're talking to ourselves, but potentially we can be actually talking to another part of ourselves that's invisible, or like a part personality, or we can be talking to a part of our heritage, because we could have generational energies around us. And we can be talking to our higher self, or we can be talking to energies that are around that we're not even aware have sort of latched onto us in a way. So I'd love for you to put in the chat section, #reflect, because as we go along with these pause sessions, I want you to be thinking about what we're talking about and reflecting to see if it's something that relates to you in some way, right? So I remember when I first spiritually woke up, and I had this thing that it wasn't something I was expecting, right? So I go to a psychic, and the psychic's like, you can do what I do, obviously you don't know it, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Until I go away from her. So in fact, I actually got to feel my dad. My dad brushed my cheek. So my dad passed when I was 15 years old. It was the first time I physically felt something go past me. Has anyone ever felt something like an energy touch you in some way? Unfortunately, I can't see the chat, so but still throw it in because I can respond afterwards. So had this feeling, like this feeling went past me, and then after that I had these energies touching me for a couple of days, and I rang the woman back up and said, what's going on? It's freaking me out. She said, they're all just, happy that you've woken up. And I went on this journey because I asked her if I could go back to see her, and she said no. And I thought that she was a bit of a charlatan to start with. So that sort of blew me out. How come the charlatan doesn't want to take my money? Like, why is she saying no, But obviously she wasn't. And she was someone that was genuine, because she realized I would attach myself to her and want all her information instead of finding it myself, right? So she was actually quite someone with integrity when it came to the psychic world or the spiritual world. But what happened was I went on a journey to self-discovery and understanding all of these things. And I followed this path without even realizing I was following this path. And the path was an energy that was talking to me, so I remember, I went to a meditation circle, and I met someone there, and they sort of helped me, guide me. But there was other things that I was doing. Like, I remember I went to the shops, and like in a big shopping center, and there was a health food section. There was a health food store that had a big pile of books out the front, and they were selling them on discount, right? And I was in that process of trying to work out what was happening to me, why was all this stuff going on, and no one to sort of ask, no one physical. And I'd gone past this tray, this table full of books, and they were just a mess. They were all over the place. And I sort of had this feeling to go up and check it out, right? So I went up and I started looking at some books, and there was nothing that grabbed me. So I went past and I went to do my shopping or whatever I did. So I'm coming back like 20 minutes later past this shop, and someone has piled the books up like a pyramid. And right on the top, I felt this feeling to go and have a look again. And right on the top was this one book that said, with a little help from my friends. And it was a book all about spiritual, talking to the dead, or, talking to spirit guides and all that sort of stuff. And so I used to get these little nuggets as I went along of do this and do that. And it was because I was being spoken to from an external source to me. So has anyone ever, have you ever experienced seeing a ghost? Or seeing someone, or feeling like you've got someone that's hanging around you? Because after that, I was able to identify who, hey, Janita, funny that you're on. Janita this is what she does for work, right? She talks to spirits and all that sort of stuff. And she was on, I'm assuming it was last night, there was an event on that you were doing. So hashtag reflect, Janita. So I remember I started having these experiences, right? I started having these encounters and really didn't want to believe it because my head is very scientific. So I want to ask you, have you had an encounter and how did you respond to it? Was it something that freaked you out? On the last week, I ended up in a conversation with my Pilates instructor, which was very bizarre. There was only her and myself and another woman. And somehow, oh, that's right, she asked me what I do for work. And we got into this conversation. She's only young. And next thing I know, her grandmother is in the room with us. I can feel her. And so we got into this whole conversation around how she's been dreaming about her grandmother, really vivid dreams where her grandmother's actually telling her stuff. And she said, it spins me out a little bit because she's not into this sort of stuff. But as I was saying to her, it's just that they don't have a physical body anymore. They've still got a personality. They've still got, things to say. There's still part of them that's still on the planet, potentially, depending on circumstances, that are here to give messages or to guide people and all of those things, right? And I remember the first time I actually acknowledged that it was something that I could experience, because I'd helped this young kid on the other side of our suburb in a healing session, and I'd done a healing on him and it sort of went awry because I was new to it and I didn't pick up one little thing, and then I had to sort it out the next, that night by going in my spirit form and fixing it from where I was. And it was the first time I was doing it. And I didn't really believe in it at the time. I didn't believe that all of it was true. Anyway, it went in. I actually called on Archangel Michael to help me. Went in and did this thing. And his mum, I rang up an hour later or something, and his mum told me exactly the time that it happened. And it blew me out because he thought I was a witch, right? And I remember getting off the phone and going, oh my God, I am a witch, freak out. This was just too much, right? Because there was new things happening to me. But what I did was I went and I spent some time by myself, and I've talked about this before. I spent some time by myself in the, I went up to the Daintree. I was living up in Far North Queensland. I went up to the Daintree and I had 3 shooting stars come because I was asking the question, am I working for the right side, right? And I had 3 shooting stars. But what happened after that was I was like, okay, now I can acknowledge this little girl that I see on a regular basis as I drove into Holloway's Beach, which was the suburb I was living in. As I drove in, I used to see this little girl in a Victorian nightdress. But I used to pretend she was one of the reflector poles because I didn't want to believe that I could see this little kid, right? Anyway, after I had this moment that I'm working for the right side, I was able to acknowledge this little girl, and I said, I asked her, "What are you doing?" And she said she's waiting. I'm waiting for my dad to come home from work, and I got a flash of her dad working on the Kuranda Railway. Now, I'm not good with history, and I don't know a lot of physical stuff, and at the time definitely didn't know a lot of physical stuff. And so I saw an image of a horse and cart and some sort of accident, and he died on making the Kuranda Railway. And as soon as I saw that, I saw a whole heap of people behind her, like 20, 30 people, all, in white, like images, like they're all spirit, right? And I said to her, if you turn around, you'll find your dad. And she turned around and they all just went straight away. It was like zip, they all left. And I never ever saw her again. And so it was things like that sort of kept me going forward, kept me moving into, okay, well, that was something that I could tangibly experience. It was a physical moment that I had these images in my head, and now that that's gone, that woman, that everyone's gone, I don't see them anymore, right? And I had a few moments like that. What I'm saying to you is that there is a shift happening on the planet at the moment, and it's a very energetic shift, right? Where we are being given the opportunity to really understand ourselves on these higher levels, to really connect with our ancestors, with our spirit guides, to really tune in to any past lives that may be causing us to not quite be able to level up in this life, right? Not quite be able to flow in the, in the beautiful stream of life, but we've got these things that are holding us back. They're like weights on our psyche. And so we have these patterns of behavior from our childhood and from our conditioning, but we also have these weights from generations prior to us that have got that had unhealed wounding, trauma, loss, made decisions that weren't in alignment with their higher self. All of those things carry through our bloodline and in our DNA, and are causing us to feel a lot heavier than we need to be. And so we have the opportunity to actually shift those things, clear those things out of the way. It's like taking off clothes that are not ours, right? They're too heavy, they're baggy, they're unkept, all of these things, and we can have these clothes that just don't feel like ours. And when we pull them off and take all the layers off, we start recognizing our own skin. We start recognizing our own light. And by doing that, what we're doing is we're raising our vibration. We're clearing all of those old patterns that no longer serve us and weren't ours in the first place, right? We were born into them. And we were born into them for a reason. We were born into them because we're here to shift those energies now. We're here to make a difference and to actually bring this planet on from a, fourth, fifth dimension into a fifth, sixth dimension, right? And to move into that with our ability to be a creator, to understand our light, to have every cell shine in our body, for it to level up so that we've got this beautiful frequency happening and we can walk with the invisible. Because when you're listening, sometimes you can be listening to energies that are not of the highest and best. They're not necessarily, there's energies around that will be whispering in your ear things that aren't for your main purpose here. But because they are sent from another realm, right? Because they're an experience from another realm, we can sometimes give it a lot of power when it actually shouldn't be given that much power. I just worked with a woman who we were doing an intuitive read, and I knew she was with someone that was overseas, but I didn't know who he was or anything like that. And in the intuitive read, I was able to identify him, like the way he looked and everything, and it blew her out. I didn't know, who he was, but I was able to identify him, and I said, he's not good for you. This is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she was going to separate from him. And next time I saw her, she hadn't quite separated. She was still in this process of saying to him, what are we doing? Are we going to be still together, and what's happening, and blah, blah, blah. And I asked her, why are you asking him? Do you want the relationship to still be, if you want the relationship, then all good. But if you don't want the relationship, then why are you asking him what he's doing, right? Anyway, we start going on, and she tells me this story of the first time before they actually got together. She was on one side of the country, he's on the other. They knew each other as friends. And she has this moment where she's on the beach and she tunes in, like she's just sort of in this meditative state. And she has this experience with him, and he's talking to her, and I can't remember the details and I won't share them anyway. But when she had this moment, she's like, wow, that was really powerful and really strong. So she rang him up and she told him, I had this experience, blah, 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 blah. And he was able to tell her what he said, right? So she's telling me this, like, we've got this powerful connection because this happened. And I was able to shift her consciousness around that. I said, wait a minute, that was a powerful moment, but what he was doing, he was actually physically aware of what he was doing, and he infiltrated your energy field without you asking, like without permission. He came in and he came into your energy field without asking your permission. And that is a huge no-no when it comes to, spiritual efficacy, right? You don't want to read someone without asking their permission. You don't want to infiltrate somebody else's energy field without their permission. And it just blew her away because she had seen it as, well, we've got this connection. But then in the physical, it wasn't working, and it wasn't working really full on. Anyway, through that process, she's discovered that she actually, that this guy was actually seeing more than one woman. And she's been able to, go through the process of letting go and releasing and grieving. But the very connection had been holding her back from that. And if we are listening energetically outside of ourselves, even, and I may, you know, push some buttons here, even to spirit guides, right? If you are coming from a place that's not just directly to your source energy, you are getting half information. You're getting a fraction of a fraction, because we are a fraction, we are a fractionated energy field of the whole, right? So if you're listening to anything other than your higher self source energy, what I call superconscious, then you are accessing not accurate information, because you're accessing maybe from something that's still a bit higher in consciousness than you. But why would you go and listen to something that is only half of the story instead of getting the full story? So I personally believe and teach my clients how to access that really deep inner knowing internally, and getting it from the direct source, so that you're flowing in the direction of what you're here to do, your purpose, your vision, your mission, what it is that your heart is here to experience. But you've got to clear all of that stuff out of the way first, right? You've got to get all that stuff that's getting in the way, all the stuff from generational history, past lives, the conditioning from our childhood. All of those things are weighing us down. But when we can clear them, when we can clear all that stuff, we will be able to hear our higher self even more, with more clarity and more focus. And we're going to be able to use those steps, like go in the right direction of what our purpose is, with a lot more flow than all the stuff that's holding us back and keeping us heavy, right? And it's time. Ladies, it's time. If you want to know how to have conscious relationships, then this is it, because you've got to have a conscious relationship with yourself first. If you're not having a conscious relationship with yourself, you can't have a conscious relationship with anyone else, because you've got to have that opportunity to reflect and to refine and to understand where you were coming from. And was this really my beliefs, or are these beliefs that are holding me back from something else that's been in my life previously? You know, are these really my emotions, or are these emotions that are from my little inner child that's so wounded from all the stuff that happened when she was a little girl, that now she's you know, still holding on to that, and as an adult we are trying to move forward and we can't, because she's holding on to those things. These are the important questions that you really want to ask yourself. Who is it that I am underneath all of this, and who am I listening to when it's, you know, the clarity that I need to move myself and keep flowing, and to really create beautiful conscious relationships with myself, with my family, with my friends, and with my lover, right? All of those things are extremely important, because when you can connect with all of those people, because you've connected to yourself, because you've done the work, because you've cleared all the stuff out of the way and you're following your path, oh my gosh, that's when life becomes magical. That's when life becomes all that you want it to be. That's when you start creating really easily. That's when you have these beautiful, deep, intimate, amazing relationships with your family, your friends, your lovers, your children, all of those people, right? That's when life gets fun and exciting again. So if that's what you're looking for and you're after, then put a, you know, me in the comments, because you want to acknowledge this. I'm not offering anything, by the way. If you do want to catch up with me, let me know, because I have been offering a few. I haven't done it for a while. I'm offering some, you know, like, I call them refocus your life sessions. So they're only 20 to 30 minutes where we look and focus on what it is that you want to create. And if you feel like you've got something that's getting in the way, that you know is not yours, then definitely reach out and ask for put link please in here. I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to, but seriously, if you feel like you've got something that's getting in the way and you really, really want to get it cleared, then reach out to me and I can help sort that out. Take care. Enjoy your Monday, public holiday here in New South Wales. I don't know when anywhere else. And start of daylight savings, so we're on a different time frame again. And enjoy your week, and we'll catch you soon.